A single social media post can turn a downtown street into a chaotic, sometimes deadly flashpoint in a matter of minutes.
And it happens so incredibly fast that cities are just scrambling to keep up.
Welcome to our latest deep dive. We have a lot of really intense ground to cover today. We are unpacking the ongoing crisis of, well, what people are calling teen takeovers in Chicago.
Right, and it is a fiercely divided debate on how to actually stop them.
Exactly. Our sources today are pulling from all over the map. We are looking at local news reports, official police statements, some pretty fiery right-leaning political commentary from the Illinois Review, and Mayor Brandon Johnson's sweeping budget remarks and executive orders.
It is a massive stack of source material, and you are going to hear some wildly different philosophies in here.
Which brings me to a really important point for you, the listener. These sources contain highly politically charged viewpoints. You have strong progressive ideas and strong conservative arguments. We want to be super clear right up front. We do not take any sides here.
No, not at all.
Our mission today is simply to impartially break down the ideas, the policies, and the arguments presented in this material. We are just decoding the crossfire for you.
And to really understand that crossfire, we need to look at what actually sparked this latest round of debate.
Right, let's get you caught up with a quick 90-second brief on the core event. Over the weekend, Chicago hosted a downtown tree lighting celebration. Just a normal, family-friendly event in the Loop.
Yeah, very standard civic gathering.
But shortly after it ended, a massive crowd of teenagers flooded the area. And this was not organized weeks in advance. It was pulled together suddenly, via social media.
Just completely on the fly.
Exactly. And this teen takeover very quickly lost whatever structure it had and spiraled into violence. There was property damage, several people were injured, and tragically, a 14-year-old boy named Armani Floyd was killed.
It is an absolute tragedy, and that loss of life has just ignited city officials. Everyone is demanding a solution, but they are completely split on what that solution actually looks like.
Yeah, you have some aldermen and police pushing for strict curfews and heavy tech fines. But then you have the mayor who is doubling down on addressing long-term root causes and actually trying to reduce reliance on the police.
Which is a huge structural shift.
Yeah.
But, to understand the law enforcement side of the argument, we really need to look at the anatomy of how a takeover actually forms.
I honestly think of them as like a digital flash mob that loses the script and turns into a riot.
That is a really accurate way to picture it. Police Superintendent Larry Snelling describes them exactly like that. He says these mass gatherings are organized using apps like TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram.
Just everyday apps.
Right. And because of the algorithms, a simple post can pull hundreds of kids to one intersection in practically no time. And Snelling has a very blunt message about this, specifically for parents.
He actually calls them out directly, doesn't he?
He does. He argues that it is not parent-shaming to ask adults to know exactly where their 12- and 13-year-olds are at midnight. Because when a young kid enters that kind of chaotic, unstructured environment, they are incredibly vulnerable.
Right, the crowd mentality just takes over.
Exactly. So Snelling wants parents to be that first line of defense to keep kids out of danger in the first place.
But, city aldermen are not waiting around for parents to check their kids' location tracking. They are proposing immediate hardline consequences to stop the bleeding.
Yeah, they have two new ordinances on the table. The first one is from Alderman Brian Hopkins, and he wants something called a snap curfew.
A snap curfew? How does that even work?
Basically, he wants to give police on-the-ground emergency powers. If a crowd starts escalating, police could instantly restrict minors from specific areas.
Wow, so just draw a digital box around downtown and say, nobody under 18 allowed right now.
Pretty much. But the logistical challenge of checking hundreds of IDs on a dark street is huge, which is why Alderman William Hall has a different approach. He wants to hit the tech platforms directly.
Okay, the social media accountability angle.
Right. Hall's proposal says if a platform does not remove a post promoting an illegal teen meetup within 6 hours of the city flagging it, they face a massive fine.
How massive we're talking?
$50,000 per violation.
Wait, $50,000? That is steep. But I have to push back on the timeline here. 6 hours. I mean, in the internet age, a crowd can gather in 20 minutes. Is a 6-hour takedown window practically useless?
It really is the main criticism of the plan. You are basically trying to catch a bullet with a permission slip. Even if the platform takes it down at hour 5, the windows downtown are already smashed.
The damage is totally done.
Exactly. And that friction between immediate police tools and digital fines is exactly where...
Yeah, while the aldermen are asking for fines and curfews, The mayor is looking in a completely different direction. He fundamentally rejects the idea that arrests solve this.
He is very clear about his core philosophy. He states, "We cannot arrest our way to safety." He argues that the city just asks police to do way too much.
So he wants to shift the burden. And he is doing that through Executive Order 2026-2, which introduces this year-round Peacekeeping Program.
The Peacekeeping Program, right. Instead of funding more cops and riot gear, the city is putting up a $900,000 grant.
And what does that money actually buy?
It pays to hire up to 50 local youth peacekeepers. These are young people, ages 16 to 24, and their job is to facilitate conflict resolution and actively de-escalate violence among their peers.
And the mayor has some serious statistics he touts to back up this kind of social investment. He points out that in 2025, Chicago recorded the lowest number of homicides in 6 decades.
6 decades? That is a massive data point for his administration.
It really is. He also points to a 50% increase in the city's summer youth employment program. They successfully hired over 31,000 young people.
Because the logic is, if you give a kid a job, a schedule, and some money in their pocket, they are going to be wandering the loop at midnight looking for trouble.
Right. But, I have some natural curiosity here, maybe a bit of slight skepticism. It sounds great on paper to hire peers to de-escalate fights in the neighborhood. But when a crowd of hundreds is already destroying property downtown, can a youth peacekeeper actually step in?
It is a really fair question.
It just feels a bit like asking a lifeguard to calm down a hurricane,
That is exactly what the critics say. But the mayor's argument is that you don't wait for the hurricane to hit the beach. You invest early so the storm never forms. But of course, doing that requires an unbelievable amount of money.
31,000 youth jobs and year-round peacekeeper grants definitely do not come cheap. Which brings us to the FY 2026 budget. The mayor has a very specific plan to pay for this progressive vision.
He is proposing the creation of a permanent $100 million community safety fund.
$100 million. Where is he getting that kind of cash?
Mostly from a new community safety surcharge. But it is highly targeted. He wants to tax only the top 3% of the largest corporations in the city.
Okay, so going after the big businesses. And he uses some stark wealth inequality statistics to justify this, doesn't he?
He really does. He points out that Chicago has 127,000 millionaires and 24 billionaires live there. Yet, right alongside that wealth, 1 in 4 young people in the city live in poverty.
Wow, 1 in 4.
Yeah, so his argument is that the money is there, it just needs to be redistributed to protect the youth.
But he doesn't stop at just the general corporate surcharge. He has another tax aimed right at the tech industry. The smart tax.
Yes, the social media amusement and responsibility tax. This one is fascinating.
It really is.
Yeah.
The city wants to tax social media companies directly. They are arguing that these apps are actively causing depression and anxiety in kids. So they want to use that tax revenue to fund free mental health clinics across the city.
Which creates a really interesting dynamic if you step back and look at it. Social media is taking a massive double hit in Chicago right now.
How do you mean?
Well, the aldermen are blaming social media as the core cause of the violent takeovers. It is the organizing tool. But at the exact same time, the mayor is targeting those same apps as the financial solution to fund his mental health clinics.
Oh, wow. So they are the villain and the piggy bank.
Exactly. And the mayor argues he has to find this money locally because he is being starved by the federal government.
Right. He spends a lot of time in his remarks attacking what he calls the Trump cuts.
He cites some huge numbers, like a $468 million cut from the ATF.
And the ATF is the federal agency responsible for stopping the flow of illegal guns, right?
Yeah. Exactly. The mayor is arguing that Chicago police pull thousands of illegal guns off the street, but if the federal government defunds the agency guarding the state borders, the city is just bailing out a sinking boat.
He also mentions billions in federal dollars being withheld from local public transit and public schools.
Yeah, he frames his budget as a protective shield for the city because the feds are walking away.
So we have this sweeping multi-million-dollar progressive vision. We have corporate taxes, youth jobs, mental health clinics. But how is this actually landing with the people living through the immediate chaos?
This is where we see the really intense backlash. If you look at conservative outlets like the Illinois Review and just hear from frustrated residents, the view from the street is very different.
Right. Impartially reporting what they're saying. These critics argue that the mayor is severely downplaying basic law enforcement.
They feel that while the mayor talks about jobs and peacekeepers, violent crime, retail theft, and urban disorder are actively pushing families and businesses to leave the city today.
They feel abandoned by the current policies
Exactly. The core frustration we see in the Illinois Review is this feeling that progressive ideology treats criminals as victims of their environment.
and leaves law-abiding taxpayers to just deal with the immediate physical consequences of a downtown takeover.
Right. They are essentially saying, we're the ones getting our car windows smashed while we wait for these restorative justice programs to eventually kick in.
It sounds to me like a debate over a flooded house. I mean, the mayor wants to spend money fixing the cracked foundation so the house never floods again, which is great, but the critics are screaming that they are drowning in the living room right now and they just need a bucket.
That is a perfect way to summarize the tension. It is the long-term cure versus the immediate emergency response.
So bringing it all together for you, the listener, you really have two competing realities trying to govern one city. On one hand, you have an immediate law enforcement crisis driven by social media algorithms and a lack of parental oversight.
And on the other hand, you have a decade-long progressive vision aiming to cure poverty and trauma using corporate taxes and youth employment.
It makes you think about your own city. Every major urban center is grappling with this. How do you balance the immediate need for safe streets tonight with the incredibly difficult work required to fix the root causes of crime over the long haul?
It is the ultimate civic balancing act, and clearly, no one has the perfect answer yet.
And I want to leave you with one final kind of provocative thought to mull over on your own. It goes back to the social media problem. Let's say Alderman Hall gets his way, and Chicago succeeds in fining tech giants $50,000 every time an illegal gathering is planned on their apps.
Okay, so the platforms start aggressively deleting the posts.
Right. But will that actually stop the teen takeovers?
Yeah.
Or, will it just push these massive coordinated crowds into dark, encrypted messaging apps, things like Telegram or Signal?
Oh, where the police can't see them coming at all.
Exactly. If we drive the digital flash mobs into the shadows, we might lose the only early warning system we have. It is definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We will catch you next time.